10 years ago, Jenny Lamattina swapped a high-pressure legal career for a job permanently going on holiday. But it wasn't that simple. Entering the complex world of self-publishing meant finding new ways of getting her boutique accommodation guides into the hands of cashed-up travellers and reinventing the business along the way.
My budgets, looking back at them now, were complete works of fiction. The problem was my expenses were totally thrown out by having to employ extra people. So my first book, I was actually down by about $40,000 or $50,000 before I even sold one.
What do you think, Alison?
Yeah. Publishing a travel guide to B&Bs and small hotels seemed like a decent business idea to Jenny Lamattina. But even after covering 150 properties in 6 months, she still had to sell the finished product. Her secret was not only to find a good distributor, but to get added exposure.
I hired a publicist. There was media coverage everywhere. I had people coming to my house doing stories on, my lounge room, my backyard, my dog, my favourite dish. I remember waking up one morning, my husband actually coming into the bedroom and saying, "Jenny, you're in the bestseller lists."
The book sold 14,000 copies, enough to ensure that the business lasted beyond the first edition.
My business model is fairly simple. I do charge properties to go into my guidebooks. We firstly produce lists of properties. I then approach these properties, explain what we do with the book and the website, and then we go and visit them. We don't allow any property into our guides unless we've visited and unless we think that it's a really good fit for our book. I trawl through magazines, brochure racks, internet sites, and then we start actually going around and visiting properties. So that's the good part of the job. What we're hoping to achieve is to break even before we go to print, because then that really takes the pressure off us. Turnover, it depends on how many editions I do per year, 300 to 400,000.
Sales through bookstores are fairly static and there's competition for shelf space. So Jenny Lamattina and business partner Simon St John use a more direct approach.
It's sort of like a restaurant guide, but for getaways.
The major distribution channels I now use, apart from my bookstore distributor, is having stands at consumer shows, the travel shows, good food and wine shows. We have done Sexpo, which has been quite an eye-opener in more ways than one.
The internet's been the biggest potential headache, but while major bookstores are struggling in the digital age, the guides defied the trend.
I was just wondering which sorts of angles you thought would look best for the property. Rather than seeing it as a threat to a published guide, I really embraced it and put our guide on the internet, freely available to anyone who wanted to access it. It was obviously with trepidation that I did that, but what I found was it just simply opened up an entirely different market. The books still continue to sell very well. The internet still continues to draw lots of visitors. We have on average 30 to 40,000 unique visitors per month.
Jenny Lamattina and husband, motoring writer Jonathan Hawley, both work full-time from home. And it's been a major shift from law firm to a job that has surprisingly become a permanent fixture.
To tell you the truth, I did not expect this business to last 10 years. Because of the emergence of the internet, I honestly didn't know 5 years ago what sort of impact that would have on my business. But there is still a huge market for books. People love buying books, having something physical that they can actually hold.